we're in the free agency period, so we have to talk free agency. Hey, and we're about to talk about this. Why haven't Ron got a linebacker yet? He got one, and actually we'll go right into it. Will, let's go ahead and talk about it. We can do a quick update. Our free agent signings. As you guys know, we've picked up a couple linemen and Andrew Wiley, Nick Gates. We got a couple of the old heads, but we did get a linebacker in Cody Barton out of Seattle. We don't exactly know what his potential is. We know he was behind Bobby Wagner, but hey, we're going to see. But to his point, Will, we did have some people in-house that we were talking to, but it does not look like they are going to stay here. Anthony Walker Jr. from Cleveland. You mentioned him a year ago, and he was back. He was back.
I got so excited over the weekend. I sent this to you. I said, he's coming into town. And normally, if you remember the old Redskins with this logo, when you come into town, you don't leave without signing a contract. Well, apparently they decided that they weren't real interested in this guy. Now, he is coming off back-to-back seasons of injuries, but I'm disappointed because prior to his injuries, he was a tackling machine. He's athletic. He can run. Like, this is exactly what we want for our linebackers. And so that's really frustrating. And what got me excited was to, like Noah said on here, why hasn't Ron got a linebacker? Is this would be a cheap signing because, we talked about last week, we only ran 4 plays last year in a base 4-3 defense. So they don't see the need to be putting capital into the position. But Anthony Walker Jr. would have been one of these, low risk, low reward injury signings type thing where it's like you could bring him in and see how he does. He's had injuries that have ended his season. They aren't like ACLs or stuff where makes you wonder like, oh, can he come back from this? So that one stung. And then he signed today with Cleveland. So I was furious earlier. I was like, when I read yesterday that they let him leave the building and they'll decide later if they're really interested in him, that made me say they don't care about signing him. And then when he signed the next day with Cleveland today, I'm like, oh, come on.
Right. And it still stinks. He was in-house. We could not keep him here. He did sign. There's a couple other names out there that we had heard. Who had we heard about?
That came in this week, in the last week?
Or not even that just came in, but specifically talking about the linebacker position.
They wanted Drew Tranquill. He was a linebacker for the Chargers. They're not willing to spend money. Obviously, they weren't willing to go to Cole Holcomb's price, but they don't value. They still don't value. This is the hardest part for us to understand. They don't value the linebacker position and the need as much as you, I do, Noah, Nathan. All his fans are like, this core sucks. We need some depth. They don't seem to really say that. And Nathan, I do believe he started with the Colts.
Mm-hmm. That's the one we had, but he signed back with the Browns. Does this lend you to believe that we're focusing on going back to the draft? Trying to get a linebacker.
And I think it makes sense. I mean, by signing Cody Barton, he's the middle linebacker to pair with Jamin. They're going to be the 2 linebackers on the field the whole time. I was excited if they had gotten Anthony Walker because to bring in one more veteran I thought would be good depth. And then I think we are going to focus. At some point, we'll have another linebacker from the draft because it's cheaper capital. And Nicholas, there's no way that Ron can keep up with these kids flying around today. There's no need for a downhill middle linebacker in today's game.
Him and Jack Del Rio, they're a little bit past their prime, my friend.
Right.
Past their prime. Honestly, the market has been disappointing for linebackers. Okay.
It's been an interesting free agency so far. I've seen more 2 or 3 year deals. Players saying, hey, I'm going to just sign short term and I'm going to get paid in a couple of years. Orlando Brown's deal is 3 years? He's going to get one more big money contract because he'll be about 30, 31. So he's playing the market really well as opposed to signing 5-6 year deals that at some point they get cut because they're too high of a cap.
Right.
We kind of go shorter and shorter, kind of like the Kirk Cousins route. Just keep paying me top dollar every single year. Not a bad idea.
I mean, hey, if it works, and he's definitely getting paid. Again, there's a couple other names on the list, not at linebacker, but obviously Cam Dantzler out of Minnesota. Another one we picked up recently from the Falcons, Abdullah Anderson and D tackle. But we're pretty set there. Definitely in the front line, and even with depth with Fedarius Mathis coming back, so. I guess this is a continued depth piece, but just feels like he's gonna sit deep on the bench. Maybe it's a training camp guy, like you alluded to earlier.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how he does. Obviously, he's played, so bringing in guys who have experience is never a bad thing. As opposed to just someone that's an undrafted free agent. He's had playing experience, but yeah, I mean that to make the 53 may be tough for him. Since he's got a couple starters and a couple. Rookies from last year, Mathis and Ridgeway, who appear to be probably starting out in front of him. He's a big guy, though, 6'2", 6'3", 297. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe he could be defensive end as well. I'm not too sure. But yeah, you need bodies in camp, so he's got experience, so not a bad thing.
Absolutely. Another re-signing, F.A. Obata. Picked him up and solidifying that D-line. So I love that we're continually either getting or retaining guys. And to help the quarterback room, Jacoby Brissett, he came here from most recently Cleveland. As if you guys remember, he was the one who started in the absence of Deshaun Watson up until I guess week 11, where Deshaun Watson was able to play after his suspension. And for all intents and purposes, Jacoby Brissett had them doing decent. I mean, as well as they could in a pretty poor AFC North last year.
I have a decent stat to talk about a little bit later on when we talk about did we get better in the offseason from this, and it has to do with what Jacoby brings to the table.
Oh yeah. Guy's a winner. Guy can get it done. A lot of people aren't going to put him as your number one, but I mean, I'm telling you, you don't feel you're not anxious if your number one goes down, because you got a guy that's very capable, and he's a seasoned vet. 7 years in the league, he's been able to produce. All the stops. So that's pretty. So I'm loving that. Yeah. I am absolutely loving that. So look, we've signed a number of guys. Who's been in the house? You talked about. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll say we lost somebody. We lost a former Redskin, Sean. Mm-hmm. Cam Sims signed with the Raiders.
Heard about that.
Yeah. Although I'll be honest.
Make my hands with him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's one of these things where, first off, I'm going to say good for him to go to another situation. By the way, who is one of the coaches with the Las Vegas Raiders? Oh, that would be Scott Turner.
Oh, did he go there? Wow. I don't follow him.
Yeah. So I will say this about Cam Sims. Obviously, good for him to go to another situation, get a chance to get more playing time. At this point in his career, they really were only considering him a special teams guy. I mean, and he's always been our big guy. His career has lasted longer because every preseason he makes touchdown catches and he gets you all excited.
Right.
The only quarterback that he worked well with that fed him the ball was Alex Smith. Remember in that Pittsburgh game, he had 5 catches for 90-some yards and with one-hander to on third or fourth down to keep a drive going. So he had over almost 40 catches in 2020 because Alex trusted him. And maybe it was because he was big body, big catch radius, but Alex would just kind of throw it up to him and let him catch it. But he never latched on in the regular season. Mm-hmm. And so he was always potential, but good for him for getting himself a chance to play. He was a good blocker for us and a great special teams player. So there's a hole there. From the blocking side of it, this is going to give your boy a chance. It's one less person that's taken up some time for him getting out there. Diami is considered a pretty good blocker. So this will be a chance for him to get in there, not only on packages where he needs to be blocking, but then other certain play designs where he can utilize his speed as we've seen. But we did actually sign a special teams replacement for him, and he came from the Chiefs as a wide receiver. Okay. His name is Marcus Kemp. He is a bigger body. He's 6'4", 209, but he's mostly a special teams guy or has been for Kansas City. But, again, this is a wide receiver from Kansas City coming with their offense coordinator. There's got to be something there that he likes. Not saying this guy's going to turn into, a Pro Bowl wide receiver, but maybe it's the pieces there to replace Cam Sims.
Yeah, maybe he'll be the Eric Bieniemy's version of Cam Sims.
Exactly.
And look, and shout out to him for being Cam Sims for being able to sign here and to be able to stay with us. But like you said, every offseason we've come into it thinking he's our big body guy. He's the guy that's going to sit here and be able to, catch the high balls at the goal line or run a slant or do something for us. And it just never came to fruition. Outside of that Steelers game, it was a struggle to find anything from him outside of special teams and outside of his blocking. He just didn't get that many opportunities, and if he did, he didn't separate himself.
Right.
So good for him to go elsewhere. Is anybody else that was in house recently?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. I think for the most part,
I think we're kind of slowing down here. The fact that we were even bringing in someone like Anthony Walker Jr. got me excited because I kind of thought we had already packed up our free agent notebooks and we're headed for the draft already. So it's like, well, maybe they're still scouring a little bit.
Yeah.